Good to go? Good to go. I just got the thumbs up sign. And Greg or Heather, there's no word yet from Mark about where he's at.
I'll send him a text and give him the number to call in just from phone. So
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Good evening, members of council, staff, and Cyrus. We will call our meeting to order on a cloudy May the 3rd. But don't despair because gray skies are going to clear up. We'll call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. I have no announcements other than just to remind members of council that we do have a town hall meeting tomorrow night with MPP Dave Piccini. Please spread the word around. And I believe, Heather, you resent the link to join that meeting to all members of council today. So good. So if you're available, I think it's scheduled from 5 till 7. So we'd like to see you participate in that if you can. Are there any disclosure of pecuniary interest with any of the matters we will be discussing tonight? Councillor Powers.
Nothing to declare, just a reminder really to council members and staff, if we do get down to what's item number 11.2 development update, there is an update regarding the Peterborough Organics facility. If we are intending to get into a deeper discussion beyond what's sort of the update, then I may need to declare at that point in time if we need to have a deeper discussion. But I'm not declaring at this point.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Next, so if any members of council want to pull that part of the report out and talk about it separately, please advise Councillor Powers first, and he can declare a conflict before the discussion begins. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda that we have before us tonight? And seeing none, I'd like a motion, please, that we adopt this agenda for tonight's meeting. I'm seeing Deputy Clerk and Councillor Powers. All in favor? Carried. Where did
I think we'd lost Councillor Howie.
Where did Ken go? We still have quorum, but now we're down 2. Go ahead, Bonnie.
Through to the the mayor, with people with having these connection issues, is there a possibility of individual coming into the township office? I think Mark is having, it seems to be a consistent problem, and he certainly is close to the township office. Is that feasible?
Bonnie, that's been recommended several times. It's definitely feasible. Heather, you're at the office now, and Greg, I believe. So
and Ken as well.
In Ken's, so there's lots of room in the council chambers, and the internet service is good there. So
because the staff is in their offices.
That's been
just
suggested.
as long as the option's available, then it's individual's choice.
And Mr. Mayor, I have forwarded him the direct call-in numbers for telephone, right? So I just sent it by text. So.
This is Mark you're talking about?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
And what happened to is Councillor Howie in the chambers now?
I don't believe so. No.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, I thought you said he was in the chambers.
Oh, Ken Scullion is in the.
Ken Scullion is. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, we don't know what happened to Councillor Howie though.
I will text him too.
Do you want us on mute, Joe, if we aren't speaking?
Yes, please. Thank you, Bonnie. Please be on mute if you're not speaking. But we can move along for a little bit now, I think, members of council. Next on the agenda is the minutes, and there's 4 sets of minutes. There is the public meeting minutes of April 12th and April 26th, and there is a regular council meeting minutes of April 12th and April 26th. And I think we can look after them in one motion. Could I get a motion, please, that we adopt those minutes of those 4 separate meetings? Powers and Clark, is there any discussion or questions on the minutes? Seeing none, call the vote. All in favor, that is carried. Thank you. Okay, I see Mark is on the screen. Mark, can you hear us? I think you're frozen.
We've got 2 marks up, Joe.
Well, I got a picture of one, Mark, but there's no voice, and I think that is frozen right now. All right. Okay, council, we can and will continue to move on. Now, number 8 is delegations, and we have with us tonight Cyrus Gazba, and I hope I have pronounced that name correctly. My understanding. Good evening, Cyrus. We can see you.
Good evening.
Cyrus, my understanding is that you do not actually have a presentation for council tonight as part of the delegation. You're simply a resource that's available on behalf of ExploreNet in relation to staff report 11.1, which of course is the staff report on the communication towers. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. So really, council, all I think we really need to do is just have a motion to acknowledge that Cyrus Gazba is here on behalf of ExploreNet as a delegate in relation to staff report 11.1. And I'm seeing Deputy Clerk and Councillor Powers. All in favor? So that is carried. And speaking of staff report 11.1, that's really next. There's nothing for Parks and Arena. There's nothing under Public Works. So we're going to move into staff reports 11.1. And I think, Greg, you're going to lead the way on this. Is there any word from the 2 missing councillors at the moment?
I have texted them both and given them the telephone contact numbers to their cell phone. So they have those telephone numbers that they can call in, which are the Toronto numbers, right? So I've sent that to.
Okay, so if you could, I think, Greg, I'm going to ask you to start on this staff report, and if 1 or 2 of them contact us and are, even if there's part of the audio portion of the meeting, then just let me know, please. But I'll swing it over to you now on the staff report in 11.1.
If you just if you give me about 2 seconds here, Mr. Mayor. I just got asked for a piece of information that I need to send to them, so I will be about 2 seconds.
Well, certainly if there's any indication that waiting for a short while will allow these members to connect, then absolutely no problem. But I don't know whether we could be waiting for an hour and still not be any further ahead. So I don't want to do that.
I'm right with you here. I'm back. They just needed I think they needed the meeting number, and I just texted it to both of them. So from our Zoom meeting numbers. Okay, I can continue on. So the report is written. Both myself and Mr. Scullion have been dealing with this particular application with respect to ExploreNet for 2 tower locations. We did follow our council establishes, the report said, a protocol for the establishment and application for the establishment of telecommunications towers within the township. It was established in 2013. And so I guess I'm pleased to say that representatives from ExploreNet were very cooperative with us, and as far as the various steps that needed and were required to be undertaken. So they had to file with us their detailed plans for this particular construction to happen on both of these sites. So they gave us site plans. Sorry, yep.
Excuse me just for a minute. We have someone who has joined the meeting, and I think we need to identify it. It's who's on the phone with the ending in 7210.
That's me, Ken Howie.
Yeah, no, okay, thanks, Ken. All right, sorry, Greg, go ahead.
No problem.
Ken, can you hear okay?
Yes, I can.
All right,
I have
fine.
you on.
Good.
Okay. And if I see another telephone pop up, I'll stop, Mr. Mayor, and you can do the same thing. And so we did walk representatives, through the. I see another telephone popping up here, so maybe that is Mr. Allen. So I'll send it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Mark, we're seeing another individual join the meeting, telephone number ending in 2320. Is that you?
That is Mayor Taylor. That's me, Mark Allen.
Good, thank you. And can you hear us okay, Mark?
I can on my cellular. I have no internet whatsoever now. I can't even see my email.
Well, this is kind of an appropriate time to be talking about this particular staff report then, Mark.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, so that's where we're at now, Mark. We're down to, and Ken, we're down to 11.1, which is a staff report regarding the communication towers. And Greg, have you been able to hear, Greg has just started, we're able to hear the first part of that report?
I was not, but
Okay, I can start.
If you don't
Mr. Mayor,
mind,
I can-
Greg, sorry,
Yep.
if you start again, and then we've got all 5 of us are able to hear it now.
No, that's fair. That's fair. The the township was approached by ExploreNet in December, so we've been working away with ExploreNet. So as I mentioned, council in December of 2013 established a protocol for the application for new telecommunications towers within the township. What is required is so we have had ExploreNet. They have been very cooperative in meeting with us and providing us with the detailed information for their plans for these 2 particular locations. One at 744 County Road 2 and the other one in Serpent Mounts Road. So they provided us with site plans. They provided us with information about the towers. They were also appeared before council twice as a part of our protocol to inform council of their intentions and as well to answer any questions the council might have. As a part of our protocol, there is a requirement for a public consultation program. With COVID, they chose to do a mail out to the local affected residents within 135 meters of each tower site. They coordinated that particular work with Ken Scullion, and they also, as the report indicates, and there are copies of tear sheets. They advertised a public meeting and a consultation session and a request for any comments related to these sites. What they have done is that they did not get any contacts of information or people seeking information, and so that the planned public consultation session for April the 9th was postponed. They have provided us, which is attached to a copy of the report, their consultation summaries for each of the prospective locations. And they have also provided us with the $1,500 application fee. So the report recommends, as you can see here, that the council authorized the CIO to send a letter of concurrence to Industry Canada for the cell towers located at 744 County Road 2, Bailieborough and Sipper Mound, subject to the following conditions. And the one condition that we had asked and through the consultation process that a stage 1-2 archaeological study confirming that there are no archaeological resources shall be submitted to the township, as well as registered with and it's the Ministry of Heritage that this particular requirement where they have to go to registration for, and that if they are successful in having that work done, then the Serpent Mount Tower we could sign the actual LOU for these particular programs. So that's the recommendation that is before council, and if council has any questions, they can ask myself or Mr. Scullion, or they can ask Cyrus. I would imagine this particular any questions that council may have. So I turn it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Thank you, Greg. Are there any questions from members of council to any of the individuals that are here tonight that could speak to it? and Councillor Powers has his hand up. Mark, if you want to speak, because I can't see you, if you can just speak up and we'll fit you in. First, go ahead, Councillor Powers.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. I'm not sure if this is Greg or Cyrus best to answer this question. In terms of the public consultation, do we feel that that was fulsome enough considering where we are today in the current parameters that that public consultation had to work under? I know that in reading the reports, which were very helpful, that we received minimal or no comments back as part of the public consultation that was undertaken. I'm just concerned that the public consultation may not have been fulsome enough to actually gather those comments. And I'm wondering if we're feeling comfortable at this point in time that we have really gauged the public's input to a state that we're comfortable going forward with. It just, that's the only thing that sort of stands out to me, is that maybe because of COVID, we haven't been able to give a fulsome opportunity for our residents to provide feedback. Just a comment there. I'm curious what either Cyrus or Greg would have related to that.
I could, Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Powers. So we, and I'll let Cyrus sort of add some additional work. So we follow our protocols, and these would be similar to what we would follow for a planning application, Councillor Powers. So when we deal with a zone change or a minor variance or those types of things, we would give a notification to those particular properties within 400 feet or 135 meters. So we follow the same rules that we would follow as far as notification for this type of application and any other public consultation application. So we have dealt with many planning applications so far, and during COVID and following the same regards. We also, as I said, so they would have received letters to anybody within that 135 meter range around both sites. So we followed that particular protocol, and we are comfortable that in addition, we very similar to a public meeting for planning purposes, we did pick the advertising medium that has the most direct contacts with households. So that being the during the publication, I think it's the Peterborough or Kawartha This Week publication that's delivered to every household. So we've tried to maximize those particular items and follow the same items that we would follow for a normal planning application. So I'm not sure whether that answers your question, Councillor Powers, or whether you have any additional questions or not. And if Cyrus has any comment about that.
In general, no, that's fine. I was just a little bit concerned with the minimal amount of feedback that we got, and whether or not we were comfortable that we had the public consultation that we wanted to have, and that we feel that the public that are in and around the area where this development is going to happen are as well informed as they should. So I think Deputy Clark probably saw her hand go up. So, but in general, I'm just glad to hear that, Greg, you're feeling comfortable that we have done what we could and what we normally do as it relates to similar applications such as this under the Planning Act.
Right.
I do have further questions, but I'll save those for a different topic later on in our conversation.
Great. Thank you. Cyrus, did you have anything you want to add to Greg's comments about the public consultation process?
Well, I think Greg laid it out quite clearly, but just generally speaking, this is fairly routine across Southern Ontario, with probably about 150 some other tower sites that we're currently working on. The public meeting part is really the only part that's a little bit different under COVID, that they've been virtual. But in this case, even we had the opportunity to do it virtually, but there was no interest in it. I can say typically the bulk of these sites that we have been doing, this is about the normal. So there's very few comments that we receive. What's not reflected in some of the comments is it's usually pertains to the newspaper ad. When that goes out, we do get an awful lot of phone calls, but they're not really to planning or permitting or land use. They're questions about how soon will it reach my house? What kind of speeds will you provide? That sort of thing. So there's almost more sales type questions than anything else.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Clerk, you had a question? Go ahead.
Yes, through the mayor, a couple of questions, and my concern was around, as well, was the consultation fulsome enough? In looking at the public consultation, what bothered me somewhat was there was only one individual letter sent to in the one on the Otonabee. There was 12 sent to in South Monaghan. My concern is the 135 meters, which amounts to 438 feet. The one on the Serpent Mounds site is close to numerous tenants who wouldn't, other than the newspaper, have received anything. Is this the normal policy, Cyrus, that you see in other municipalities where it is 3 times the height of the tower is all that's necessary to send out a written notice to?
Three times tower height is the standard protocol. I wouldn't say in all jurisdictions, but the vast majority of them. Some jurisdictions, when they provide us the mailing list, it's the technology isn't there to measure from the tower base, so they often measure that distance from the property boundaries. That would, I guess, be the only differentiator. And I've never known notifications to go to leased or rented properties. It's always to the property owners.
Okay, and it just is a little worrisome since we do have a number of tenants in the one facility where the landowner, is a corporation, and it is the tenants that are going to have the visual. Now, they may be happy, with the visual and to have the internet service, but it's a little worrisome to me and trying to represent our constituents. And that is my concern. Certainly, I respect Greg saying we went through all the notifications that we need to and protocol and process. A couple of things did jump out at me, and I think with Eorn going on and everything, I did reach out and will ask staff to come back and look at our own policy. I'm quite concerned with the fact that we get too many towers and people not sharing, and ExploreNet certainly as a good proponent of this reached out to see if they could go on the one existing tower that is on Serpent Mounds. And I think that is marvelous. I'd like to see in our own policy that the township requires a commitment to dedicate space on the tower for other communication providers to provide open access provisions in accordance with the CRTC regulators, and firm that up a little bit. So I will make a motion for staff to look at our policy regarding this. And the other thing too, that in reaching out to other municipalities in the province, something that may be lacking in our policy, and I'll look forward to the staff's input in this, but that township reserves the right to decline the installation of a tower where the builder / site owner has no guaranteed tenant on the tower. There has been some towers that have gone up in specs with no person like ExploreNet going to be on the tower. And I think that speculatory aspect doesn't serve us well. I want people cohabitating and one tower servicing a number. And I would like to say to Cyrus, thank you. I respect you for reaching out and trying to do that. I think that serves communities far better. So, and and certainly saves our landscape from, I always refer to it as looking like a porcupine with needles. So anyway, thank you. I do respect that, and I will make a motion later for staff to please look into those 2 points around our own policy.
Sure, thank you, Bonnie. I think the way that we should deal with this is we'll finish the report and the subsequent decision to council from that. And then following that, if you'd like to make a motion about perhaps staff looking at updating a policy that we created in 2013 around communication towers, I think that's likely a good idea. I'm sure the landscape has changed since then. But
Thank
the
you.
application that's before us, of course, has been brought in under the existing policy, and that's what they have to follow. And as Greg explained in his report, they follow that. They follow that completely.
And through to the mayor, absolutely, totally on the same page as the mayor regarding this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Powers, I think you had something else you want to come back to?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Taylor. Cyrus, just a couple of questions. I do have some concerns. I am fine with the tower. I'm fine with, in general, the locations of the tower. My concern lies actually with the service itself, ExploreNet. I have, and I mentioned this at our last meeting, repeatedly seen and had individuals expressed to me concerns related to the reliability and the speed of the ExploreNet service in general. And one of the things I do have concerns with within our community is it's one thing to have maybe no or minimal internet, but it's another thing to have internet that is being, proposed at a certain rate or service level and not meeting those expectations of our residents. So I'm curious from your perspective, Cyrus, on a number of points, which includes, one, does these new towers affect, enhance, improve the service delivery that is being provided today by ExploreNet? Is there any commitment that you can make today in writing around the speed and reliability that the customers who attach themselves to this particular tower or towers can receive, recognizing that the 50 download speeds is not realistic, that no one will actually get that on a consistent basis or ever? What can we commit to? And then finally, how does this in the long term set you up for improved service down the road for our customers who are going to be your customers, our residents? I'm just concerned about the service and the reliability and making sure that if we go through this process to putting towers in place, that we're going to have a reliable internet service for the people who are connected to that service. So I don't know if you could speak to that a little bit, Cyrus, please.
Sure. So I'll tell you just, maybe I'll start with a little bit of background, but we've been engaged with ExploreNet for almost 10 years now. And they started off as, a small company on a shoestring. And as time has gone on, more and more customers and more infrastructure spending. So right now it's somewhere near $500 million that's being spent in 12 to 24 months. We are aware that the network is stretched and in some parts it is at capacity. So there's a lot of things that ExploreNet's doing to try to fix that and relieve some of that congestion, increase the reliability and the speed. So the first thing that happens is when a new tower goes up, it's not just brand new coverage in an area. It's relieving the congestion on the adjoining site. So around these sites, if you look, I can tell you the exact measurement if I measure it, but say 7 to 8 kilometers in either direction, you'll find another ExploreNet broadcast site, which might be at capacity, so too many customers on it. So first part is capacity relief. So everybody benefits, not just the immediate area, 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers, even 20 kilometers out. The second thing that ExploreNet is doing is connecting a fiber line to as many of their sites as feasible or as possible, as fast as they can. And that fiber connectivity is key, because that increases the capacity on each individual site exponentially, and also the reliability. So if you think, you know, in an early network, you might have one site connected to fiber, and then you'll have a radio link daisy chained, you know, 4 or 5 towers along. So you have all this extra points of failure or congestion or interference. Once you start bringing in the fiber, the amount of capacity that you can push through a site is theoretically it's unlimited. It would take a lot to fill that pipe up, and that also allows the increasing the speed. So that's 2 parts, and the third part is every new site that's being built is being built and provisioned for future growth. So we're designing the towers, the amount of power we bring to it, the structural capacity on the site, the mounts that we put on the site for the next layer of technology that's already planned. So that pathway is there, and it's quite clear. And then all the adjoining sites, the existing sites, every one of those in the next 18 months or less is getting upgraded with new technology, new equipment. So it's not perfect. It's going to be tremendously better than what it has been, far more reliable. The minimum speed, as I understand it, is going to be 1050, and that's not a shared connection. As far as putting that in a signed, sealed affidavit by Cyrus, I can't do that because I'm a contractor here, but I'm pretty sure we could have somebody from Xplornet stop in and chat about that.
Again, just to follow up, Mayor Taylor, thank you for that, Cyrus. You touched on a couple of follow-up points. One is the oversubscription of towers. So you mentioned that some of the towers may be oversubscribed. If we put these towers in place, you know, if we can't commit to a speed, can we commit to a subscription level so that we're not subscribing these towers, so that we're not, you know, 3 years down the road running into a similar situation where we just, Xplornet has put too many customers on the tower when maybe they should have only hit 70% of the capacity so that it could handle, you know, in the old telephone days, the Mother's Day effect of bursting that happens across internet speeds. So is there something that we can do there so that we're not dealing with residents saying, you know, what is going on with Xplornet? They've oversubscribed the new towers we just put in, and now my speed, I noticed that it's dropped because it's gone from what it was to a month later, I'm, you know, only 2/3 of what I had.
Yeah, I really can't speak to that. I can tell you from a technical standpoint what's being built with the addition of the fiber backhaul, with the addition of provisioning the tower for additional equipment should resolve that issue. Now, if fast forward 10 years from now, you know, who knows what's going to happen, but today, or once these things are up and running, you're not going to have the same capacity or customer number restraints. And really, you know, you look around, there aren't that many customers. So unless you had a building boom and a population explosion, I don't think we're going to have that issue.
And just one final question, are we intending to provide fiber to these cell towers? Is that in your project roadmap?
So ultimately, every site is going to get fiber. Now, when specifically that's going to happen, I don't know. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kilometers of fiber that's being installed by Xplornet, or they're making arrangements to lease lines from other providers or existing service providers. But ultimately, we're going to connect them all.
Okay. Thank you, Cyrus. I appreciate that.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
for the information, Cyrus. Councillor Howie, you had your hand up. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, more or less, the answers I've been looking for are already said. I agree with Councillor Powers. The same issues that at times the internet is very slow and it's almost unacceptable to even use. So if this is going to put better the systems that we have out there, that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that that's the ultimate goal, is to improve internet service in the region. And as some councillors in particular can attest to, it needs improved. Deputy Clerk, did you have your hand up a minute ago? Go ahead, Bonnie. Yep.
Yes, through the mayor again. I'm sorry, Cyrus. I was making notes as you spoke here. I thought you had said that we would see in roughly 18 months that we would have new technology to every site. Can you expand on that, or did I misinterpret?
No, so the existing sites, the existing network is all being upgraded, and the time frame for that is 18 months out. So these particular sites will be the latest and newest technology. It's the pre-existing stuff that's getting upgraded.
Oh, okay, and certainly I appreciate that. So will that not take some of this pressure off and make certainly in hearing the two councillors' concerns here, and I think all of council, will that not take some of the pressure and make this service much more reliable and faster then if all the other sites are upgraded?
Absolutely. So it all sort of works together. So you're increasing the capacity, you're increasing the footprint, you're relieving some of the pressure off the adjoining sites. But then as you're upgrading the adjoining sites, they also have more capacity, more speed, more reliability. So ultimately, it's going to be a pretty solid work.
Okay, and just a follow-up comment. So if people do sign on and the service isn't what they're going to expect, I would expect a loss of customer base for ExploreNet. So to me, it would be in ExploreNet's best interest to make this faster, quicker, and more sound. So that's, hopefully that happens.
Absolutely. I mean, ultimately, we live and die by the customer. And as ExploreNet gets stronger in rural communities, we also see more competition. So the incumbents who haven't, really done anything for a long time, all of a sudden are taking notice. And they're building fiber, they're doing fiber to the home. Some of them, they're upgrading their wireless systems. So, everybody wins. The consumer wins at the end of the day. So more choices, more competition, better service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cyrus. Before we move on, I just want to check in with Councillor Allen to see if Mark, do you have any comments or questions that you want to pose to staff or Cyrus?
Thanks, Mayor Taylor. Just listening in, and I don't have anything exactly, just a few comments in the sense that I too obviously look forward to some competition and some opportunities to improve our internet for our residents in our locale, and very much looking forward to that happening as soon as possible. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Okay, yeah, Cyrus, it's certainly not council's intention or our place to tell ExploreNet how to run their business. We're just here to make sure you follow the regulatory framework that's in place. But what I will make the comment, though, that improved internet service is drastically needed. However, it has to be affordable, and that's what ExploreNet has to keep in mind. That that our residents, although they need better service, there's a limit to how much they can or will pay for that. So that's where the business case comes into it, and I'll let ExploreNet figure out the details, of course, on that one. So council, we've had a good discussion. I think there's been a lot of information here, but as Greg has explained, ExploreNet in their application has followed all of the policies that the township laid out for them to proceed with this process. The decision is ultimately in the hands of Industry Canada. However, the township is asked to give a letter of support to their applications when they are submitted. So there's a couple of recommendations attached to Greg's report. I'd be interested in knowing if council is prepared at this time to make a decision on the application, or at least on this report.
I can make that, Mayor Taylor.
So Councillor Allen, are you prepared to receive the report and approve the recommendations that are contained within it?
Certainly am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that's been moved by Councillor Allen and seconded by Councillor Howie. Is there anything else that we need, Greg, in relation to this?
No, Mr. Mayor, this would fulfill their application based on the
Thank
vote.
you very much. So it's been moved by Allen, seconded by Howie. I'm going to call the vote. All in favor, please. That is carried. Mark, I'm going to expect that your hand went up with that one.
It did, yes.
All right, thank you very much. The motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Cyrus. And thank you to staff, both to Ken and Greg. I know you put a lot of work into this.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate all the work and time spent on this.
You're welcome, Cyrus. Thank you. Before we move on, I know that, and I think it's appropriate to allow it to follow this report. I know, Bonnie, you had a motion that you want to propose. Go ahead.
Yes, I would ask staff to look at our policy around towers and bring a report back. The policy is from 2013. And as was stated, that is a number of years ago. So I make the motion that the staff look and see if there is any changes that we feel would be prudent at this time.
Sure. Any recommended updates that we should apply to our policy? Okay, Deputy Clerk has made that motion. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Powers is seconded. Call the vote. All in favor? Mark, yay or nay?
Yay.
Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bonnie. Okay, moving down now to 11.2 is a development update. It's really just for information purposes only. As Councillor Powers said at the onset, if you want to pull out the specific item of the organics facility, please advise so beforehand. Are there any questions to our planner or to Greg? Greg, did you want to go through the report first in some detail?
I can give a couple of highlights, Mr. Mayor, or members of council have any specific questions. Certainly, we have been busy, trying to get approvals completed and in place, and the technical reviews done, and I think we are making some substantive progress in that particular regard. Certainly, what I can update since the report was written is that I believe that the surveyors have delivered the M plan to the county today. We did get an email here about 5 o'clock today asking if we've got one more document to be signed. And then I understand that M plan is going to be registered with the registry office. We're looking forward to that because we have about a dozen to 15 building applications currently under review with the building department for the Ambria development. So it's the first grouping of them. And we are told that there are significantly more coming after that. And so that we're eagerly anticipating that particular aspect. We're also, looking at actively looking at quite a number of the site plan for Bellemere Winds has come in. And I believe that there's a significant number of permits associated with that one as well. We anticipate that we're going to see the next phase, which is phase 2D, which is the final phase. Site plan application be filed here shortly. So we're happy about that. We have some ongoing conversations about some fairly detailed technical issues related to Burnham Meadows for their phase 2. So we can get some more building lots online and permits in that particular case. So we're actively pursuing those in between myself and Ken Scullion and Ken Curry and our engineer and our development solicitor. We have been active on those particular files. So if there's any questions from council, I'd certainly be pleased to, or myself, Ken or Heather can respond to that.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Questions, Deputy Clerk?
Yes, around development, but just a side off. I know that Burnham Meadows, there were many anxious homeowners there to have the playground put in, Greg, and to see more development go ahead and nothing going on about the playground. I'm afraid we're going to get lots of calls. So could we have an update on playground wise where we're at?
Sure, I know that I, along with Heather, have been reviewing with Mike Nelson a final draft of a request for proposal or call for proposal for development of a park facility in Burnham Meadows. So we hope to issue that here shortly. And
I believe we were hoping that 2021 would be the year that we would see shovels in the ground for that. Are we still on schedule for that, Greg?
Our goal is to issue the RFP here in the spring, have people bid on them, as I mentioned before, have a couple of designs come forward, maybe do a public meeting, and then come to council with a recommendation on the decision for a proponent that might be able to do the construction for the fall.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good, thank you. Okay, planning applications, Councillor Powers. Go ahead, Nick.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. Greg, just a question also about Burnham Meadows. Veterans Road, when within the scope of the planning and building that's going on over there, is the municipality on schedule to sort of take, for lack of a better term, and I'm probably using the wrong language here, take ownership and responsibility of that roadway? When is that in the plans right now? Is that after phase 2, or is it really dependent on the build out that happens on that particular roadway? And for those that aren't familiar, Veterans Road is I guess to be the second road in when you turn in. So it's the one that goes down to a cul-de-sac at the end, in behind the current road, Paul Rex. So I'm just curious about that roadway. I know I've had some conversations with staff with residents who are wondering when that's going to happen.
Thank you, Councillor Powers. Mr. Mayor, through the Councillor Powers. If you've traveled up into that neck of the woods here lately, that the majority of construction is happening on that road as far as home building construction. So, and that's where picture homes are just finishing up. And I believe that they have started the final construction on the last couple of lots, I believe. So there's no more lots left on that road. So what typically would happen is that once all the subcontractors are out, they do a cleanup in there, and then if there's they would do any warranty work that is provided. So if they've broken any curbs, any sidewalks, if there's any street lights that got dinged or whatever it happened to be, that they would do that particular work, and then there would be an application that would come to the township, which is an application from their engineer, which is a certification of substantial completion. So I expect maybe this fall we might see that as all of that construction is done, and then there's a warranty period, typically a year after your certificate of substantial completion is done. We've got a 1-year warranty period, and then they can apply for assumption. So I still think we're probably 18 months out, Councillor Powers, at least, even if they really moved on it where the municipality would formally assume ownership of that section of the road.
Great, thank you. And if I may, Mayor Taylor, not related to Burnham, I did have another question on the planning update.
Yeah, now's a good time. Go for it.
Yeah, the official plan, what are we hearing from the county in terms of where they're at? I suspect that they're quite a bit behind because of COVID and some of the challenges there, or are we hearing any, excuse me, any updates in terms of timeline?
I can start and maybe Ken can also finish. Ken and I had a conversation with a representative from the county last week. We had a Zoom call, and we went through the draft of the 14 base maps for the official plan with Keziah, and so we spent 2 hours doing that. Update that we got from the OP is that they're on target and on time for them to proceed. And I know that they've been doing regular updates to county council on certain background issues as well. I think just about at every council meeting. So I'm not sure whether I missed something there.
Yeah, just to add to that, Councillor Powers, we recently released a survey to all residents in the county asking for general information, what's important to them, what they would like to see in the county, and a lot of questions pertaining to an array of planning issues that is now available to the public, and they're actively filling that out.
Just to follow up on that, that's really interesting, Ken. I'm glad to hear that. Is that being mailed out, or is it an email going out? How are individuals within the county being made aware of that? I don't recall seeing that as a letter in the mail or anything.
The county has asked us to post that to our social media, and the county has released that on their website.
Okay, are we, I guess, advertising that? I guess other than it's on our social media, that's our main advertising mechanism to get feedback, I guess.
That's correct.
Okay.
It is, Mr. Mayor, Council Powers, it is one of the things, but it's the county is taking the lead on the communications piece on this one, and how they get out and how they get that message out in different mediums that they're going to be pushing that. And it is an online survey, so people can go in and register their comments based on the county OP website.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Deputy Clerk, go ahead, Bonnie.
Yes, through the mayor, to that point, I was aware of the survey through the county. Councillors here aren't aware of it. Is there any way we could put it just on our electronic signs that if people were interested with the link, because we just don't get enough public input. It doesn't matter what it is. What can we do better? So if social media and Councillor Powers wasn't aware of it, I'd like to see us try to be a little more aggressive than in getting it out there. So just a question to staff, a suggestion around this, please.
So Mr. Mayor, through the Deputy Mayor, so the survey was just launched on Friday. So that's maybe why you didn't hear it out. But it was just that particular link was just launched on Friday. So we're pushing that social media out. When we update our sign and key, we can put that particular information on there. But it was just launched on Friday of last week.
Thank you. It takes about 15 minutes to do. And as you say, it was just Friday. That's when I become aware of it too. So it is fresh, but just in the sake of trying to get more input. So thank you for that.
Well, I think that's something that every township should put on their website with links to it, just so residents are aware. Are there any other questions with regards to the development update report? And I'm going to turn over to you, Mark. Do you have anything you want to discuss with that one?
Thanks, Mayor Taylor. No questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there's no further questions, Deputy Clerk, go ahead if something else. Okay, Bonnie, you're going to make the motion?
That's yes, correct.
Okay,
I
great.
just-
We just want a motion to receive it for information. That's been moved by Deputy Clerk. And it has been seconded by Councillor Howie. All in favor? That's carried. And
Yay.
when Mark, it's when you did something there that there's the border lights up around your phone picture. So I'm going to assume that means you're in favor.
Yeah, I just took it off mute, so that must be what does it. So I'll say yay. I'm in favor.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, moving down now, Council, to 12.1, which is the annual kennel license report. The small animal control officer provides this to Council once a year. It's an update of all the kennel licenses that have been issued in the township. And it's interesting to note, members of Council, that there are no new applications here. Every one of these are a renewal of some fashion. So again, this is just a receive for information. Councillor Powers, Councillor Howie, all in favor? Carried. Sorry, was there any questions on that? I didn't mean to rush you through it. Councillor Howie, you had a question?
Yeah, no, just a comment that I heard from a resident that they were quite impressed that now that they can go online now and pay for the dog licenses instead of having to go into the office or try and get a hold of someone to pay it.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, Heather, go ahead, Heather.
Mayor Taylor, it was actually for an approval, not just for information.
For approval. Okay, so the mover and the seconder, the motion is to approve the report. I'll call the vote again. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thanks, Heather. Okay, moving down now to bylaws. We only have one. But I get a motion, please, that bylaw 2021-27 be read a first time. I'm seeing Howie and Clark. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, it is a confirming bylaw. I don't expect council need an explanation on this one. So can I get a motion, please, that bylaw 21-27 be read a second and third time, signed, sealed, and the corporate seal attached. And I'm seeing Powers and Councillor Allen. You second that?
I do.
Perfect. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, we've got a number of pieces of correspondence, and I have a couple of recommendations for council to consider as we go through them. The first one is the resolution from the Council of Cambridge regarding sick days. The Ontario government has already brought that in. Now, Cambridge requested 5 days. The Ontario government granted 3, but I mean, my recommendation there is simply to receive it because it's now old news. Deputy Clerk?
My thoughts exactly. Receive.
Moved by Deputy Clerk, received, second by Councillor Powers. All in favor? Carried. And Mark was in favor of that. Okay, correspondence, Census Canada. You can see that this was some correspondence sent to me, but I wanted to make sure that council were aware of it. And they're asking for a resolution that we put our community name in there and encourage our residents to support and participate in the census. Councillor Powers?
I'll make that motion.
And so the motion would be to support the 2021 census, encourage residents to complete their census, and to attach our name to the resolution that's part of that report.
Correct.
Moved by Powers, seconded by Howie. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Town of Fort Erie, Fort water protection. Now, council, again, as far as recommendation goes, this really isn't something that our council gets involved in. This is for the Source Water Protection Committee, which is really part of Conservation Authority. And I know Bonnie is part of that. So my recommendation is simply to receive it and refer it to the Conservation Authority. I think it already is, but just to be safe, I believe that would be the appropriate way to deal with this. Any thoughts on that one? Go ahead, Bonnie.
Yes, just if you could expand more, because this is a concern through the mayor, and I was going to pull it out to support this. It has been spoken around the source protection group itself, I would like to support it because it's these one-off wells that are in the source protection where you have like a municipal water, but you have the wells, individual wells themselves, and maybe into the same aquifer.
Well, certainly you can move to support it. I do strongly urge us to refer it to the Conservation Authority, Source Protection.
Could we support it and also with the recommendation to move as well?
Well, here's what's potentially a problem is that this council votes to support it, and Source Water Protection Committee look at it in detail and say it's already been covered or it's not necessary. So we've supported something that the authority who is responsible for it doesn't, and that's, so I want to be careful about that one.
Okay, I'm fine with that because I know that the Source Water Protection has recommended this as well, Joe. Like they are certainly have concerns around this. There have been a few contaminated wells and you know, running off the same aquifer as the municipal. So,
Sure. So
you know,
they are the authority on it. However, we can support it if we like. Councillor Powers, go ahead.
Something.
Go ahead, Nick.
I'm just curious. My challenge with supporting it is on paper, I'm certainly intrigued enough to say this is something that we may want, but I don't have enough information to know if we should support it. You know, I don't know enough about the source water protection of private wells and whether or not that should be something that we should be supporting or it should not be even tabled. So that's my challenge. I'm certainly with Deputy Clark in saying that there is the potential for support here, but I think my preference would be that we simply send it to the Conservation Authority and seek their guidance on what we, you know, on their recommendations and their real, you know, their authority really. That's my only concern there is that I don't have enough information to say that, yes, I want to support this motion.
Okay, so Deputy Clark, you spoke to it first. I'd like you to make whatever motion you think is appropriate.
You know, in saying that, I don't have a problem with referring it to source protection. I would like the staff to reach out to staff from source protection and get a feel for this and ask it to then come back if they feel strong enough. I should have myself, this is my own fault for not reaching out myself to come with a more informed around this. So I don't want it lost if source protection feels that support from the council will make a difference. So could we ask staff to reach out to Meredith Carter and get some direction there and bring it back to council for the next meeting?
So the appropriate motion then would be to defer.
Yes.
To refer it to the Source Water Protection Committee and ask for
direction
for some sort of an opinion on it.
Yes, please.
Okay, so that's the motion. Do I have a seconder? Second by Councillor Powers. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Michael's Crescent petition. My recommendation here, council, is simply to receive the petition and refer it to the Public Works Department. Councillor Howie?
Yeah, I'll move that motion.
And seconded by Deputy Clark. All in favor? Carried. Okay. I don't know what you want to do with this one. Withdraw the prohibition of golf. Councillor, what's council's feeling in this one? Go ahead, Mark. Did you want to speak to this one?
I did take myself off mute, so I guess I could. I was just going to suggest we support it, but and that's where I'm at on outdoor recreation and in the province right now. And I think it's something that's needed, and I would like to see some form of consideration given to everybody's leisure time that they can participate in the outdoors.
So that's fairly clear. Councillor Allen has moved that we support this request, and Councillor Powers is seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, there's nothing in the information package. Under other matters, I'll explain to council what, as soon as I find it here. the reason behind this. Okay, just give me a moment because I printed this off. There it is. There it is. So I got an email from MP Philip Lawrence's office, and he would like me to sign the letter that I'm going to read to you. And I have no problem signing it, but I just want to make sure that council is agreeable with the contents of the letter and the message, because me signing it as mayor is a representation of council. So I didn't want to go ahead and sign this without my council having at least knowing about it and having a say in whether they agreed or not. So I'm going to read the letter. This is what MP Lawrence's office is requesting. He's reaching out to all the mayors in his riding and asking them to sign this letter. And it's the Minister Blair. It has now been over a year since the COVID-19 virus made its way into Canada. As Canada continues to record high case counts, we are facing dangerous ICU capacity issues. While Canadians have faced lockdowns for the better part of a year, the curve is continuing to steepen. Throughout the pandemic, COVID positive flights have continued to land in Canada, and they have brought the risk of new variants. These variants continue to present a risk to this country. Not only are they more transmissible by nature than the original COVID virus, but they present a possible threat to the effectiveness of vaccinations. Canadians are being told not to go to work, not to send their children to school, and have been in isolation for over a year. Canadians' mental and physical health is suffering more than ever, yet hundreds of international flights continue to land in Canada each, and I think this is each day we have a small window of opportunity to act, and we must move now. Today we are calling on Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to take action and secure Canada's border and temporarily suspend flights from all hotspot countries. The risk continues to be far too great. So it's a message to suspend international flights from hotspot countries. Is that a message that council is comfortable with us being part of? Go ahead, Councillor Howie, go ahead.
I have to agree with it. I watch the news a lot and about all the flights and the numbers that are coming in, and it's getting scary. I think we have to put stronger restrictions in.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's always complicated, but that's fair enough. Go ahead, Deputy Clerk.
I do support it, and based on our ICU capacity and the number of people that were moving around the province to be on ventilators, I think it is quite serious. And with these variants, I fully support it.
Very good. Thank you. Keep in mind, if this was to pass, it would affect the international students that are part of this community. So that's what I mean about it. It's not just a cut and dry issue. But Councillor Allen, I think you took yourself off mute. Did you want to speak to this?
I did. Thanks, Mayor Taylor. And I too believe I would support it. I do feel if we're going to the extended efforts that we have been as a community, as a province, as a country, to lock down our own communities and our residents. And I would like to add, I wish we could add to it, they talked about the mental and physical health. I would like to add the financial health of many people as well. And to the extent that we're asking and at times legislating people to suffer in those financial health. And I would like to say at this point in time, if we're going to that effort and we believe that the international flights are the source for many of these variants, then I think that it would be prudent to ask the Prime Minister to take action on those flights coming into our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the last comment, Councillor Powers.
I will say in general, I am in support of that. The only caveat that I would have to that is, what do you define as a hotspot? So there has to be some definition of what that means, and maybe that's in the letter. But I'm not aware of any metric that is used to measure that, these once countries either rate of infection or hospitalizations hits a certain level, they're now classified as a hotspot country and therefore are within the restricted zone in terms of travel. So I think just using the term hotspot is really irrelevant without some defining metric that helps a country such as ours or the decision makers determine whether or not a flight can come in or not. So I'll just add that as a caveat.
Yeah, that's a fair statement, Nick, and there's no explanation for it here. So I don't know what defines a country as a hotspot. Certainly there's 3 or 4 that we're aware of that would, I know would fall into the category, whatever the definition is. But so perhaps what I can do, if council would like, is I will tell MP Lawrence that we've had a conversation at our council meeting. Council have endorsed the letter and authorized me to sign it, but we would like clarification in the letter as to what constitutes a hotspot. So countries that don't need to be won't be unfairly targeted. Is that fair enough? Okay, so that's exactly what I do. Thank you very much. So I guess, Heather, do we need a motion to okay, a motion please for me to authorizing me to sign this letter with clarification being sought on the definition of a hotspot country. Deputy Clerk's got her hand up. Councillor Howie. Call the vote. All in favor? Mark?
In favor. Yes, I'm in favor.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Council. I feel better signing this after having the conversation. I mean, I was prepared to sign it, but I thought I should discuss it with you first. So brings us down now to, as far as I can see, number 21 on the agenda is a motion to adjourn. Councillor Allen, Councillor Powers, we're all in favor. Thank you very much, Council. Good night to all. And if not sooner, we'll see everybody in a couple of weeks. Good night.
Thanks.
Good night. Thank you.